For example, at university, you don't need an internship right now. You miss out on a lot of things, like normal things that teenagers kind of do, like parties, etc. I was up at 4 a.m. writing emails. So I think that I want to be in a position where I can really instill, rippling effects of change, not just starting one thing and it not being able to reach a lot of people. I want to make Campus Buzz into a platform that lots of universities use. Definitely, moving forward with the idea and working as hard as I can.
Awesome. And as well, this is one of the questions that Yemi actually sent in, who's president of Warwick Entrepreneurs, for those that don't know. He actually asked, and we've talked about this, you're a very individual person, that you're doing a lot by yourself. And his question was revolving around, does this process of actually, why didn't you start Campus Buzz with someone? Most of the other incubator cohort, I think, had co-founders and have a team to work with. Why did you decide to stick with it by yourself? And also, has it been a lonely process? Do you find it difficult doing this all by yourself?
I think more than lonely, it's a hectic process because, when you have to do literally everything on your own, it's obviously hard. But I think the reason why it's very difficult to trust, a person that has the same wavelength as you, and you kind of do need to know that you're going to work together absolutely perfectly. And, I'm actually in the process of recruiting people for Campus Buzz. So I'm looking for like-minded people, and I would say I'm very picky with the people I like to work with because, I'm literally a workaholic. I like to get things done. And sometimes that's probably not what other people want as well. So I'm looking for people that are very, very dedicated to the idea and literally just working in general. So that's a very good question, Yemi. So I'm definitely looking out for people to help me along the way.
Do you feel as well, though, in a lot of the organisations that I've seen and people that I've talked to, actually the diversity of different attitudes and maybe not work ethic, maybe the work ethic's correct, but actually having other people there to help you out and point something out. Has there been anyone along the way, like mentors, for example, that have helped you to identify things that maybe you wouldn't have seen by yourself?
Again, mentors, huge, they play such a huge part in becoming the person that you are. And when you start at such a young age, I think you need a lot more mentors and people that are going to guide you along the way as to where to go and which opportunities you think are right for yourself. So, I think one person that has had a great impact has to be Venkat. So he's the CEO of JA India. And after I'd won the competition, he kind of, took me on as a mentee, and he still kind of tracks me down in my progress. And it's just great to have someone there that's constantly seeing what you're doing. So I've had many along the way, people that have always been there, and I know that I can rely on them from great sound advice. But, again, one of the biggest mentors and critics, I would say, has to be my dad.
Brilliant. So let's move on from Campus Buzz then now. Let's talk about your most sort of recent achievement, which is actually featuring in a book, Entrepreneurial Attitude, Entrepreneur Attitude. Entrepreneur Attitude. Do you want to talk about the process of this and what the actual book is?
So this was actually a very pleasant surprise. As I told you, I've been very closely linked with Junior Achievement and the entire organisation. So this book is basically based around the alumni that they've had over, there's basically 100 people like in that book, 100 years of entrepreneurship. And it talks about just entrepreneurship and the lessons that you can learn from, people that went on this journey of following the entrepreneurial attitude, as the book is. So I was approached by Larry Farrell, who's the author of the book, and he was very amazing and very kind, and we had a Skype call, and this was in 2016 somewhere. And now when I do read back at it, I was like, oh, I should have written something different. But so he we had a Skype call, and it was great. And then throughout that process, the book is amazing. So do you go buy it?
Have you read the whole book?
Yeah, from cover to cover.
Brilliant. So I suppose you just mentioned there. We'll leave the stuff for the book to people to read and buy. But what are some of the things that you wish you'd included in it then, in an entrepreneurial attitude?
That's a great question. So I think in the end of it, I mentioned that you kind of obviously, again, that's absolutely who I am at the end of the day, but then in the end I wish I could have mentioned more something like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, you know. I think we're in this world where everyone's just like so driven. It's great, it's absolutely amazing, but somewhere I think sometimes you just have to stop and then realize what is best for you, and then that's what you have to do. So I wish I'd mentioned maybe, you know, something about being happy instead of just going on and on about, say, entrepreneurship or innovation. So it's really the little conversations. Like I keep having conversations about, say, marketing techniques, or, you know, it's just these little conversations with my friends which make me happy, and coming up with ideas and discussing them, not necessarily turning them into a business, you know. So that's really important.
So as well, I have another question. Which was from Zoe, who is the Vice President of Warwick Entrepreneurs. And she was asking, actually, what are some of your, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you, and that's sort of carrying on for those conversations that you have, that, you know, try and be happy with what you're doing. It doesn't have to, you know, you can be in the micro very fast in what you're doing, but have patience in the long run to, you know, it's going to be okay. So what's your sustained motivation?
Well, that's a really deep question. I think on the top of my head, what really does come into mind, personally for me, I'm very close to my family, and you know, just the fact that it sounds like a very childish answer, but it's very true, is the fact that, you know, making your parents proud. I think my parents have given me so much. They've given me the best of both worlds. I got to see, you know, the UK, you know, in its entirety, where I grew up here, and then I went back to India, which was very humbling. You know, I saw the difference between two of them, and you know, they kind of just shifted for me, and there's this constant urge to try and just make them happy. And I think more in general, you know, there's always this concept of leaving behind something much more greater than yourself, and that's what I really want to strive towards.
So that leaving behind of something else, what do you see as your sort of ultimate goal? And you don't, it doesn't have to, you might not know, but do you have anything in the back of your mind where you're like, actually, I'd like to leave this part of my legacy behind?
I think I want to be remembered, obviously everyone wants to be remembered for good, but I think I want to be remembered for changing mindsets. I know that's such a big claim to make, but I think it's very much possible that, especially again, you know, pivoting back to females and, you know, kind of promoting that, I want to be remembered for something which is, you know, she was here and she lived her life, and it was inspiring, you know, just the way that she did, and just inspiring female entrepreneurs, and there's so many more. And if I can literally just change those demographics a little bit before I die, I will be so happy.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. So moving on, let's talk about something maybe people listening might be interested in. And it's just what goes on day to day in the world of Bisman. What happens, and how do you manage your life from social to business to university to internships to appearing in books? How do you manage everything that's going on?
So do you want to talk about term 3 Bisman, because that's absolutely nothing but library, but in general, it's I think you have to prioritize what you do in the day, and you have to be efficient. So it's not like I'm a robot, it's not like I'm constantly working. I think that's something also when, you know, really, you know, famous people that we look up to, when they talk, it's like, wow, you know, you start your day at 5 a.m, and, you know, you're so amazing. So, you know, yes, definitely, I'm efficient throughout the day. Again, you know, emails are really important in my day. I go through my inbox almost every day. It's the most important thing to, you know, again, if you have to maintain your networks, you have to make them feel valued. So, you know, as soon as I get an email, my friends literally tell me off all the time, because, you know, I have this special sound on my phone for my email, and I'm like, whoa, okay.
You get excited.
You know, I get very excited. That's what excites me. So, you know, prioritizing emails and just, you know, university work, and in general, just taking out time to meet people. I think, you know, like Michael mentioned as well, it's so important to go out and meet people, because you learn so much. So I'm a real strong believer in that. Again, I'm not really that of a party person. I like my Netflix and coffee and just myself time. So that's kind of my relaxing time, you know, talking to family and FaceTiming my dogs. Really important part of my day.
The most important
important, yeah.
So you mentioned briefly then as well, and we spoke about it in Michael's podcast with him. How important, and how do you go about biz deving and networking with other people, how do you sort of leverage the opportunities that are in front of you?
So extremely important, literally the most important thing that you can do if you want to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion, is networking is considered as, just going out there and giving your business cards to people. I do not agree with that. That's not how it's meant to be. Yes, definitely, you're going out there meeting people. That's what people think networking is. But what networking really, according to me at least, is the fact that, once you're out of the conference and it's been a few days, will they still remember you? Because, you kind of maintain in constant touch and send them emails and be interested in what they have to say rather than just trying to ask a series of questions like, I want this, and what do you think about this? So, just sharing my networking secrets, I always send out, say Christmas or New Year emails, which is super important because I don't see people as networks, they're resources, when it's not a mechanical relationship that you build, but it's more a personal one. Yeah. So it's so important, the fact that, you can kind of build a personal relationship with them and carry it forward. So that's what I've always done, and just in general be really interested in what other people are doing rather than just yourself.
Definitely. And I think part of that as well for me, the way I see networking, and I think I mentioned this in the podcast as well, is about providing as much value to the person that you're talking to as much as possible. Don't ask them for anything in return. Try and keep in contact, see where you can help. And then ask, and then be very grateful for what's going on. And it's about that personal relationships. People will see through artificial.
All the time. It's I think I really have to kind of going back to where I started. I always say it's a ripple effect of opportunities, and it's about seizing that right opportunity. And if it doesn't come your way, I think you have to make opportunities for yourself. So I really credit the fact that winning the Social Innovation Relay rippled into multiple opportunities for me, which I took at the right time. And that's probably to do with the, connections I built with people along the way.
Absolutely. And it comes down, people say as well, building into the idea of luck, is that in a way you were lucky. Not you've worked incredibly hard at what you've done, but to win a competition like that, you were lucky to win. But you placed yourself in a position to maximize your luck. Right?
Yeah, that's very well put.
That's no way insulting your abilities.
I think it's very well put.
Yeah, so that's the way I think of it. And whether it's going to conferences or just if you see something that's interesting on you, the way I think about it is when freshers come to university. I think if there's an event going on, and it's lacrosse, or if it's WFS, or if it's an economics event, even if you don't really have much interest, go along. The worst that happens is you go, that was crap. I don't want to go. So just trying out loads of things, I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's just quickly here. Any time in business or just in life in general that you've faced a particular adversity to something and you've had to overcome it, and what's been the process of that?
I think along the way, high school, I think, was at least the end years were kind of difficult because that's where I was so much into what I was doing. And then it's not really an adversity as compared to what so many people go through. But I think there was a point in time where you just felt like, am I doing what's right? Instead of kind of doing what everyone else is doing. So again, you're very naive. You're still becoming the person that you have to be. And that's when I sort of face that backlash from a lot of people as well, that you just keep doing what you have to instead of prioritizing maybe fun things. And I was like, this is fun for me, and everyone has a very different definition of what they like doing. So definitely not an adversity. I've been very lucky, I would say, as well. Like, you cannot deny that luck does play a very important role in life, but it's not everything. I think once you reach a certain place, it's what you do then forward which matters. So be it winning a competition, people win lots of competitions all the time, but it's the way that you leverage the opportunity into becoming something much more bigger than just winning a competition, I would say.
And I suppose we can briefly talk about the way you've leveraged your most recent opportunity, where you're actually going to the CEO's Summit, right? Is that what it's called? And do you want to speak a little bit about that and what's going on there?
Literally so excited, absolutely buzzing. But I'll be leaving for Seattle on Wednesday in a few days' time. And this is basically a conference where the Fortune 500 CEOs, they come together and they discuss ideas and innovations across the world and what's probably lacking. So I'll be there in a panel discussion with Warren Buffett, which is super exciting.
Incredible.
He's been an idol ever since I can remember. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I mean, I don't know if you can say, but
Yeah.
what question are you actually going to ask him? If you could ask him a question that wasn't necessarily for a CEO summit, if you could just ask him any random question, what are you intrigued to know about Warren Buffett? And you're so close to this opportunity as well.
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. Just the other day, I was watching his documentary on HBO, and I was so amazed. The thing is, I want to ask him, like, is money the only driving force in your life right now, like, or even before? Because from that documentary, it was when something happens, he'd not have fries with his burger, being like, it's really intriguing to me. So I was like, what is it that drives you? Literally, I think that's very interesting. So.
It's incredible that you're getting to meet him, and also whilst you're there, I suppose you'll get to meet a whole load of other people.
Definitely, yeah.
Explore a bit of Seattle as well. I think a big key that I'm taking away from this podcast is leveraging opportunities and then scaling that up.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
you've placed yourself in a position to go to all these different events,
Yeah.
Mainly summits and conferences. That's what's been very detrimental to your success, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously it's still in the very early stages. But anyone can do this, whether it's making a podcast like this,
Absolutely.
or going to an event, is meet people and then try and gradually step up. You didn't start from you were just 15 and then you went to school, you went to whatever, and then you just met Warren Buffett. There's been, and we've talked about it in the whole of this podcast, there's been incremental steps that have led up to this.
Definitely,
and there's many more to come. So definitely leverage the opportunities that are around you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's my biggest takeaway that I've got from the podcast.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention now before we get onto some quickfire questions? Anything you wanted to talk about, or?
I think the biggest thing that I do want people that are watching this to take away is definitely to, again, I think it was mentioned and re-mentioned again in Michael's podcast, but it's so important. Networking and kind of believing in the ability of people is very important, at least. And again, being smart is so crucial in the way that you leverage an opportunity. And even just like you said, going to a conference and making the most of it and meeting the most people, even if you don't have a business card, even if you don't have anything at all to put to your name, just go out there and just literally seize every single opportunity you get.
Shake some hands.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to go on to some quickfire questions quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly. So, are you ready? You've got to answer these as quick as possible.
I'll try. Okay.
It's only a few, so it's fine.
Okay.
So, biggest person who influenced you?
My dad.
Favorite music artist?
Taylor Swift. She's coming up with great music right now.
Favorite Netflix show?
Shark Tank.
If you could speak to 3 people, dead or alive?
Honouree. Who else? John Scully. And I would say Walt Disney.
Short or long Bitcoin?
Short.
Audiobook or real book?
Real book.
Sun or snow?
Snow.
And recommend one book?
Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg.
Perfect. Bisman, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.